This is something that I call the politics of fear. Now, the first thing that I got into with moral debt is when we affirm our morality and our ethics, that creates a better sense of self for us, right? And that's important. That's how we define who we are. There's another way that we define who we are, and this is an easy one. What are we not? The antithesis of you is important to who you are. So, when we talk about the politics of fear, we're talking about what we see that we are not. What aren't we? So let's go back on the presidential timeline. How about it? With Barack Obama, anybody that was not a fan of him, what did they say he was?
A Muslim.
A Muslim. What else?
Very bad.
Socialist. So therefore, if you had a problem with Barack Obama and you're railing him for being a Muslim or a socialist, you're saying, in essence, well, I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a socialist. You just affirmed your identity. And you did so because you are afraid, even if you think you're just mad at those two things, you're afraid of them. You're afraid of Muslims and socialism. What about Bush? What are some words that we call Bush?
Stupid.
Stupid. What's another one?
Privileged.
Privileged. Warmonger?
Yeah. I wrote a song.
I'm not stupid. I'm not privileged. I'm not a warmonger. You just affirmed your identity. And you listed 3 things that you probably don't deem yourself to be. Bill Clinton, I'm not a sexual deviant. Trump, do I even need to go into that? A long list for that one. My point is, the politics of fear are designed to create these polarized expressions of how we perceive our politicians. So, obviously, we got a more progressive, liberal answer out of most everybody in this room, right? So, there's a lot of names that we can call George Bush or Donald Trump. It's pretty easy. It's a little too easy. But at the same time, because of this idea, we are able to polarize ourselves against other people, which means that that informed and opposing discussion that I talked about is less and less possible. It's designed to make you do this, and the proof's in the pudding. For example, the politics of fear have enabled 20 years of unabated unilateral free trade. Case in point, check this out. George H.W. Bush drafted the legislation for NAFTA, right? Bill Clinton pushes it through. Bill Clinton says we should let China into the World Trade Organization. Bush pushes it through. Bush drafts the TPP. Obama tries to push it through, but he can't, so he hands it off. And Trump says he's not going to do it. But now what's he saying? Let's look at it. Perpetual war. Let's look at that. Let's just take one country. Iraq. H.W. Bush invades in Operation Desert Storm, pulls out. The Clinton administration takes over and imposes sanctions that kill 500,000 children. Numbers for adults are not included. They were imposing restrictions on water purification chemicals, food, medicine, things that people need. It was arguably more destructive than Bush's first war. Then George W. Bush comes in, takes over the war again. It's horrible again. Obama says we're going to get him out. We don't get him out for 8 more years. Trump says we're going to get him out. Are we out? And all through this time, the party lines remain divided, as if these things didn't continue the entire time. That is what the politics of fear do to you. You think that you're on one side and the Trump supporters are on another. We're not. They're doing the same thing no matter who is talking to you. It doesn't matter. And that's part of the problem, is when we are negatively affirming our identity, saying what we are not, taking a side with a certain politician to illustrate what we are not. We are, in essence, we are dividing ourselves. We are saying, no, I'm not going to unify with the rest of these people or even give them the chance to speak or the chance for them to speak and maybe I can change their mind. You're already so adamantly against that policy will continue unabated. When you do this, when you allow the politics of fear to shape how you perceive other constituents and where your loyalties lie, what you are doing is allowing yourself to be controlled by those entities. How many people in here hate Donald Trump? Raise your hand. Do you think about him a lot?
It's a law of attraction.
When you think about someone a lot, is that not loyalty? Your hatred for him is you being loyal to him. Instead of seeing the greater picture in that he is but a small piece of a puzzle that is being built and has been built for a very long time. Without that perspective, you don't see him for what he is, which is the natural progression of American politics. Celebrity. That's it. He's the hateable celebrity. And his policies will remain the same. For example, and again, I'm not taking shots at politicians. I'm telling you simple figures. That's it. He bombed Syria recently. Everybody was up in arms. In 2016, Barack Obama dropped 36,762 bombs on Syria in 1 year, in one country. That excludes the drone strikes. Trump did it once, and he will probably do it more. I'm not saying he's better than Obama. Don't take it that way. I'm saying that they are doing the same thing. Now, before I end this, I'm going to end on a positive note. This is what's really important. The fact that I've acquired all of this information is unprecedented in the history of humanity. The fact that we have internet access the way that we do. The fact that we live in a secular nation where we can talk to other people of socioeconomic status and color and creed and race and religion. That is a principle that is expanding in the world. It is not contracting. It's getting bigger. We have connectivity with more people than ever. This means that democracy is better than ever. And per capita, globalized interaction has made worldwide poverty rates plummet for over 100 years. The population's bigger, but less people are hurting. These are all great things. We're looking at ways to utilize our land space to create more food for more people, urban gardens. There's a ton of great prospects that are happening right now. This, and the purpose of my book, is to remove the harmful elements that are holding us back. Because technological development is exponential. In 1990, do you remember the first cell phones?
Yeah.
They cost $5,000. They were this big, chunky as hell, and you were considered to be a boss if you had one. In Atlanta, I have walked down the street at a homeless shelter, and there are homeless people with smartphones. 20 years is all that took. 20 years. That is exponential development. What will it be in another 20 years? It'll probably be a chip that you put right here, and you just say, call whomever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? There are endless prospects that are positive, but we cannot realize them if there are negative things holding us back. I think maybe another great example is the idea of an electric car. The internal combustion engine was developed in 1886, I believe. We've been using this thing for over 100 years. You cannot tell me that there hasn't been a better model invented. There has for everything else, but not the internal combustion engine. Do you think no one invented it? Or maybe they kind of pushed it off to the side? When you really see progress is when you see words disappear. So my question is, when is the word electric car going to drop the word electric? And it's just a car, when it's assumed that they run on electricity. I think it's a little sooner than we probably are willing to think.